This conference will now be recorded.
Hi guys.
Hi Raja.
Hi. You able to hear me?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you able to hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, fine. So this session running. Wait for another 1 or 2 minutes and then we'll start.
So Raja, what we are going to see today?
Today we will see partitioning and bucketing. So how we, I mean, it is a kind of a data organizing technique. You can also see performance improvement techniques in Hive. So what happens? Partitioning is something that you are going to.
Are we done? Sorry, are we done with that DDL and all those commands?
Yeah,
So,
external table and internal table we have created, right? So that
yeah,
is the.
after that, we are going through inner and outer joins. Joins are completed, and
Okay. So you want me to cover that as well? Okay.
no, joins we completed. So I'm just asking on that. The previous session we just stopped on some point. So that's what
All right.
I'm not able to recollect it. That's why.
Yes, in the previous session we discussed about that what all? Yeah, joins group by and all right. So we'll just recall that just for the sake of right query purpose, because I'll be sending you today the data set as well as the assignment. So probably you guys can start working on it and then provide me the
Raja, did I miss a session? Because like last session was like
yeah,
I was
one
asking.
session. Yeah, correct. Charan, one session you missed out where we discussed about joins. Like we loaded the data using concept internal table, and then we just discussed about some SQL concepts, joins and group by.
So after the external table thing, when was the other class again?
No. After external table, we didn't. So before to that.
Okay, the only class which I missed was on these SQL things, right?
Correct.
Okay, no,
All right.
it's okay. It's not an issue. Like I do have this.
Yeah, I don't want to. I mean, I'm good with that joins and all the stuff, but I'm just asking like we completed joins and group by and all those stuff, but we left it one something or there in the SQL query. So that's what I thought of. I'm not able to recollect it.
No,
Okay, fine.
no problem. No problem. See, when we are covering this hands-on, definitely again, if any assignment comes, we'll cover.
Okay, yeah.
That.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. So today we'll see how we can partition the data. So as I told, say for example, you have a large table, and when you are querying that particular table based on some where class, for example, in my current project, we are partitioning the data based on process date and country and then source system. So when you do this, what will happen when user want to query the data using where class, if he is having a frequent access to the table, and again he is using where class, so no need to hit the entire table, no need to scan the entire table. So when you have a partition concepts, so partition will provide you a way to retrieve a part of data, not entire data. That's what partition, same like other RDBMS provides. Here also we have a partitioning concept. On top of it, we have bucketing also. We will see how this partitioning and bucketing works here. So let me create
Raja, small doubt. Like you said, the partitioning will like so get you a subset of data, and the querying will be easy. Like
correct.
Is it similar to like you views in SQL or something? Like can't we do
No.
views and separate?
No, views we can do here. Views, materialized views also we can do here. See, views and materialized views, if you ask me when you want to create, Say for example, the same way, you have a large table, but you need to segregate the data and give that view to a particular team. Say for example, I have some 10 GB of data available in a table, and some users are using this table to generate their own reports. And now what will happen if they cannot write like select star from that particular table? So if the data is relevant to a department and which can be segregate, so they can create a view on top of it using some where class, like create view name and then select the star from, and then they can set where class, and then they can define some condition. So that way they can reduce again scanning the entire table. So that is different. Now here, while storing itself, when you store the data, you are just splitting up the data into partitions.
Okay.
Yeah. So now let me create one sample table and then see how I can show you this one partition concept. I'll create employee external table or internal table, anything. Okay, so go with external table only. So I'm creating one directory. Gender, let me create a simple table without partition. With partition, I'll create one more table. Okay, so for this, let me edit one file. This is a new VM that I set up last night, so no tables were remain as it is. Like this is a new set sample file only. So employee one dot. This is a command to create a new file. Even you can use touch command. Touch command also used. Just save this. To save this, you can just use Control C, and then now the data is available. I can copy this to one more table. Sorry, one more file. Then I will edit. That's all. Just we create just two tables only, and I'm going to create the external table employee, and you know we will maintain a name. Employees available, right? Employees, I'll give as. Okay, again here I'm going to external table. So this is the syntax, and we need to provide the location of HDFS path. So automatically it will create. So I am not at moved any files to HDFS location. I'm going to create the use the database. This will throw anyway error. Okay. So I have to use KP database. Okay. So now I will paste the DDL. So I'm creating external table with name employees and with these columns. Fields terminated by pipe, but my file is having comma, right? So you can, okay, this, but my file I have given comma. So let's make it comma.
Raja, sometimes your voice is it's not at all audible. We're just hearing only a few words.
Yeah, I checked with this guy. We had so Zoom. I asked for them to arrange a Zoom meeting. So they're saying that open source cannot. I mean, possible to join with for 4 members or 5 members. Only this go-to meeting can. So that's where Kalpana. I am not very sure. Even if I wear headset also, it gives me no sound. Let me wear headset and then.
I don't suppose Zoom can't support 4 members or 3 members, but also we can use WebEx if you can.
Yeah, we can do WebEx also. I think that is also required subscription, right? It's not open. Let me connect through Bluetooth. That will take some time. We'll see here creating the external table. We have created the table and I'm going to retrieve the data from here. There is no data because it's sectional table and we haven't moved any files. So now we'll move files from here. So dfs hyphen put employee one dot txt. So you can also give something like this, employee star. Okay, so now the files have been moved. You can query the same. So now you get the data. This is something that I haven't partitioned anything. So say for example, now I'll create the same table with partition. Okay, so now partition is something that you need to specify a class, extra class over here. So after your list, okay, after your column list, just enter, and here partition by of department ID as department name, and you can give a data type of that. So that's how you will give the partitioning when you are creating a table. This is a standard syntax. So we are creating again one more table with employees underscore partition, and after the after the column list, you have to specify this partition by. Let me execute this. But now you see you have to change the name of the location also. Spelling mistake. Partition by. One second. Yeah, the table is created now using this partition thing. So now in partition, when you create a partition table, you have two options: static partition and dynamic partition. So static partition is something that if you want to load the data, from a file to a table, so by keeping partition, so that is called static partition. Dynamic partition is something that you will load data from a non-partition table to partition table. Okay, so if you see this employees partition is something that it is not a partitioned one. So if you load data from here to the main table, then it is called a dynamic partition. And if it is loading from a file, then it will be a static partition. So let me show you first a static partition, then I will show you dynamic partition also. For this, we need to set two properties. So guys, you able to hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay. So again, static partition, dynamic partition, we have two concepts, static and dynamic. Don't get confused. Static is something that if you are loading data from a file, you will specify manually what partitions need to be created, and then you will load the data. Dynamic is something that from a non-partition table to a partition table, if you want to load the data, then you will use dynamic partition. We'll see the example, you will get to what it is. So for that, we need to set properties to it.
Rather, it's not audible.
No, I'm not speaking. I'm just
Okay.
referring something like which file to load. From here, okay, I will use the same load command, data load data in path local path, or else I moved data also to that one, right? So I can use this also. So static partition, I'll use as part of static partition, and I don't want to local keyword because I already have HDFS path. So I will go here and then employees. I'll copy HDFS path because if I'm not using HDFS, sorry, if I'm not using external, sorry, if I'm loading from the HDFS path, then no need to specify local keyword. Otherwise, I have to give the local keyword. So I have this. Then you have to specify at the end partition by what we have given here. Okay, we have given department name as a partition column. So remember, when you are creating a partition column, no need to specify in the list. So you have to specify directly in the partition by column. And how it will be added, in the table level, this department name will be added at the end. Now I'll create this department name equal to HR. I'll give you HR department. So this is the syntax to load static partition. So before to that, we need to set some property. I'm referring to that as a property. I'm not notable that. Let me, yeah. So you have to set the set. Okay, you have to use this command set. You have to set this property set hive dot map red dot mode equal to, when you are using static partition, you have to set this property. Okay, so guys, you are clear, right? Let me complete this as I mean this hands-on, then you will get to know what is static partition. So enter. So you set the property strict means static partition. So static partition is something that you will load the data like this. Okay. Now I just want to display the employees partition path before I load the data. Okay, what format we have given here? Okay, KP session employees partition. Just for information, I will also display what content was available here, and we'll see what content will come here when we use that. Okay, folder structure we will see, and I'm just showing you how the folder structure looks like. So far I don't have any data here. I don't have any data. Okay, so it's nothing. Okay, I'm yet to load the data. Now I'm going to load the data using static partition. Clear, guys, so far? So I have set this property strict because I'm using static partition. So static partition something like this: load data in path. Okay, local path I'll specify because I'm yet to move the file, right? So better I'll keep like this: local in path, then the data from here. So employee one I'll move it, load the data, sorry. Partition by, you have to specify load data local in path name of this file, overwrite into table data partition by. This is where I'm creating partition by department name equal to HR. So now let's execute this. By it's not required, just partition off. Okay, table not found, sorry, I'm using wrong table. Employee underscore partition. Loading data. You see that? Loading data to table kp database dot employees underscore partition name department name HR. So now you first query this table and then you will understand. Employees underscore partition partitions employees underscore partition. Wait, star from no partition predicate found for alias table employee partition, but it shows loaded the data. Partition department name HR. No partition predicate found for alias. Insert load data in path table into table partition of this name. Let me see here. Let me show you how this looks like. You see guys, I didn't load the data directly, but I moved the file. Sorry, I loaded the data from here, load data in path. So you can see the partition, how it has been created. So this is actual path, then it will followed by department name equal to HR. So that is actual folder. Let me preview that also. Name equal to you see the data is available here, employee1.txt. Cat. See, I didn't create this department HR. I didn't move file to this location, this particular file. I just use load data in path, local in path, and then I mentioned into table. Sorry, this is U data. Yeah, I loaded the data to employees. Loaded the data also. It gives no partition predicate found. Okay. In this case, you can give msck repair. This is one table, sorry, one command to repair the table. Msck repair is it will repair the table if there are any issues. Still it says mode and then set hive map reduce mode equal to, yeah, it is working in the backend, but it is no partition predicate. Let me see this. Okay, I set it to strict mode, so that's why it is saying Okay, let's set this to non-strict. All right. Sorry guys, we need to set the properties to non-strict mode when you are working with uh, static partition. Okay, so now you see we loaded the data using this command load data in path, and we are getting a column. You see here HR. HR is something that we have added a partition. So if you add some 100k 200k records also, this particular partition will be coming as HR only, so that when you are retrieving the data, now okay, this one is through static partition. So any doubts here? So that I'll move to dynamic partition and I'll load the other data and I'll let you know.
Can we create partitions even like suppose if I already created a table with like 10,000 data sets, now I
Okay.
have a requirement to create a partition. Can I do that now after creating a table?
Partition basically to create the table, we have to specify that after creation also we cannot segregate the data. Alter table option is available, but
I
let
mean, like
me recall.
the only thing is like I do have a large amount of data now. Like I got a
Correct,
requirement of partitioning them into some groups. Sorry, some different
correct,
things.
correct.
Is it possible?
Yep. Can okay. Good question. So in the middle, I don't think so because you need to segregate the data. That is important. So you can do one more thing, like you can create one more intermediate table with a partition, and then you can load the data from other table to this one. Like insert option will be there. Insert into table name, a new table name. Select star from that existing table. I don't think so because existing data is available. You cannot segregate that, right? But you can create only one partition on entire table
Okay.
because yeah, because you have 100k records and 50k records you need to create a partition for one, and 50k records you need to create one more partition. I don't think that is possible.
Okay. And another doubt is like I do like let us say I do have partitions based on HR, and there are
Mm.
like three kinds of HRs. So we
Mm-hmm.
do now have three partitions.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so what doubt number one is like whether three different files will be created there is one doubt, and another doubt is like how do I run a select command? Like I don't use where or something right now, right? So how do I select particular partition to run a select command?
So you have to give the where class for sure. If you want to select a particular partition, that is for sure. Without partition you want to select that. Okay. See, because partition is also end of the day it's like a column only. You want to select the data without specifying where class.
Okay, so essentially like each partition I'll have a different table or what?
It's not a different table. Just now you see here. Uh, yeah, you can see here. So now what will happen? You can create one more partition over here. Even MK directory also supports. For example, now I'll specify here IT. Sorry, yeah, IT, and then I'll remove this anyway file. I will load one more. You can create mkdir. Okay. Now the directory created. Now you can put the use put command and then load the file employee2.txt to this particular partition. Now see, Okay, so now if you use ls, the particular file is available inside this new partition. Yeah, so now I'll use the select star from, but you could see only one row, right? This is because we are adding this partition and then moving files from the HDFS end, but Hive will not understand until unless you use MSCK repair. MSCK repair table table name employees underscore added. You see here repair done, added partition to meta store of this department ID. Now two rows fetched. So now if you query that, now two records have been loaded. This is one way of loading data, static partition only. This is another way. So now we will see, we will create one more. Okay, now I have anyway unpartitioned table, which is not partitioned before, like employees. I have two records here. So these two records, I need to make a different way. Okay, I'll just truncate this table. I don't think so. Truncate, I have drop only since it is external table. So you remember external table, you cannot truncate. You have to drop it and then recreate. Okay, let me, or else no problem. Still, I can send this data to some other partition. So that's how I can differentiate the data. So dynamic partition, if you want to work with it again. Yep. So insert into employee underscore partition, and then you have to specify the name department DPT. What is that? Yeah, DPT name equal to, I can give now I'll give admin select star from. I cannot give select star from because I have four columns here. So I'll give gender, comma, DOB. I think it's loading as null because it's not understanding the format. So
Uh,
don't worry about that.
Raja, actually, your voice is not audible earlier. Could you please repeat that sentence?
Yeah. So what I'm here we completed static partition, right? Now we'll see dynamic partition. So dynamic partition is something that we will load data from non-partition table to partition table. Okay, so this is the syntax to load the data. And what I'm going to do, I'll insert these two records into partition tables with admin partition. Okay, that's what I'm trying to do. So if you execute this, it will throw error because insert into, right? Yeah, because we haven't set properties in order to understand dynamic partition. So it will not understand here. Okay, it's the same command insert into table. We have to specify table, keyword table, insert into table, this particular type table name, partition table name, and then select column list from non-partition table. Okay, department name. Insert overwrite, insert employees partition. Sorry, you have to specify partition. Okay, employees. Yeah. Now you see here. Okay, table name ID and all, right. One second, what I have given. Table name EMP ID. emp id ename gender dob. So L. Now I'll execute. So are you clear here? A dynamic partition. So we are loading the data from a non-partition table to a partition table. This is other way of loading the data.
So we can use that into also, right? Instead of override, or should we?
Correct. Into, yes, correct. Into also we can use.
Okay. Okay, Raja, small understanding before all these execute. So partitioning isn't like a subset of a table, but it actually creates another field for our where clause to work so that we don't
Correct.
scan all records.
Correct. 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 Correct.
Okay.
So now you see here, you can see how the data has been distributed over here. I'll just remove this, and then from here, if you see the same external location, same HDFS path, now it is splitting into other subfolders. So you can say that partition is like a folder. Okay, you see here, admin also created, but I just loaded the data, it's completed. Now if you access, just select star from, okay, from employees partition, you will see 4 records with admin and HR IT. So now you can also create now where ppt name equal to admin. So now what will happen?
Hello, Raja, we lost you with your voice.
Raja, are you there?
Hello, Raja, are you there?
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, you able to hear me? Sorry, there was some interruption.
Yeah. Now we are able to hear
Yeah.
you.
Yes. Okay. So now you can see here. Yeah. So if you'd like to add a new partition, you can do both the ways. Now what I have demonstrated here, we can load the data using non-partition table, and then you can load the data to a partition table. So now if you see here, you have to specify where class, and then the performance will be faster because it will not go and hit the other partitions which are created HR and IT. So it will directly go to this partition. So the retrieval will be faster. So that's what the concept. Clear?
I'm good, Raja.
Okay.
Raja,
Kalpana and Shashi.
initially we used that strict and unstrict, right? You said
Correct.
unstrict for static, and the other example
Yeah.
which we saw that it is for dynamic, right? We didn't set anything. So do we need to
Yes,
set?
exactly. So I think by default they have. So that's good. We'll verify these connections. Yeah. And before to that, let me explain you one more thing. So you can add a partition, Charan. Let me cover that also. Kalpana, one moment, I'll take it. So
Okay.
you can use a table, and then you have to specify our table name. Say for example, employee underscore partition table. You can use this, and partition alter table name. Okay, then partition from department name equal to services, and then you have to use set location of your HDFS path. So simply you can say you can specify some employee 3.txt. Okay, so you can update. Okay, you can update a partition using this. Okay, this is one thing. So you can update any Hive partition, you can do that. Otherwise you can use, if you want to drop a partition, you can use table employee partition drop if exist, then partition of department name equal to some admin. If you want to. This is how you can use.
Okay, Raja. Like, yeah, I'm clear now. Thanks for the clarification.
Kalpana, now I'll move to your question. So strict mode, unstrict mode, right? Yes. Let's, if you want to verify what property has been set to what property value has been set to that variable, so you can use directly set hive.exec dot dynamic. Even I will also not remember, guys, this one I'll refer from Google only, so don't worry. But when you are answering in interview panel, then you have to say that we use command, we have to set the property. At least you can give something like this. So dynamic partition set to true. Sorry, I'm not going to set it. I'm going to see this. You see, Kalpana, we didn't set it actually. By default, it is dynamic partition equal to true. That's why it loaded the data. If it was false, it will throw error. Let me set this to false and then try to load. Let's see what will happen. Okay, and I will use the same command. Okay, I will alter the table. I can drop the table. Sorry, I can drop the partition also. So I will use this same command, okay, because admin only we have used. So let's drop this using this command, alter table name, drop if exists partition, and then partition name, table not found, it's bad, employee partitions, partition, correct only, no?
It is
Employee,
employees. Yes.
yeah. So the the partition has been dropped. Guys, remember one more command, show partitions, okay, of table name. Right? Partition, yes, is not required. If you want to specify, sorry, if you want to list out what are all partitions are available, this is the command. I'll just keep and then paste it here because I can send this document so that it will be useful for you guys to refer. Okay, so now you see admin partition is not available. So now I will use the same command, okay, which we use to load the data from a non-partition table to partition table. Okay, let's try this. It is executing, it's weird. Try to remember all these commands. Yeah, will not say that, don't ignore. Okay, somehow it's loaded. You see execution error return 1. Okay, unable to move source file, something it's error coming. Let's use show partitions whether the data loaded. Yeah, you can see Kalpana. So we're not able to load the data. But when we set this to true, okay, and one more thing, one more property also we need to set it. This is one property. Another property is set, okay, hive dot exec dynamic dot partition dot mode. If you see first, you see the value, so it should be, see, you are having strict mode. So basically this guy will suggest to use when you are using dynamic partition mode non-strict. So there is a little confusion, so we need to set this to non-strict mode also. If you set this non-strict mode, I think the documentation is little confused over here. I think this is what correct. So dynamic partition mode is strict. So now I will try to execute the same command, this one, because I set it to true. Do you have any questions, Sashi, from your end? Sorry, we can't hear you, Shashi, but I accept it as okay. So now you see the data has been loaded. Let's see whether it is showing something or not. Show partition. Okay, that's weird. Did we set the property to true?
It actually says like written code one something unable to move source. The same error it's giving.
Yeah. That's what. Okay. I set this dynamic partition to true and unable to move source code. Okay, where I'm partition, maybe the data is not there. Okay, this is the command I'm using. So if I, okay, let me just query this particular table alone. So no issues. So I have to see this property true, and I will also set this property to not.
Raja, a small question.
Yes, please.
Okay, so now we are inserting like from the employees table, we are taking some records and inserting them using a partition, right?
Correct.
Into a partition, right?
That's what dynamic partition. Yes, that
Yeah.
is what dynamic partition.
But my doubt is like, so the records from the original table, like the employees will be flushed out, like will be removed out.
Yes, yes.
When you,
No. It will not flush out. Sorry, one moment. Now I'm using override command, so it will flush out. If I take out that, so it will just append to that particular partition. So if, say for example, department admin is already available with some records. Now when I'm executing this and I'm not using override, it will append those records to the table.
okay, but
Okay, guys.
okay. Two things are, one thing is you already used override saying admin, but we were able to see the HR and IT things.
No. That's where you need to focus here. I am not loading into other partitions because there are other partitions, that way they will not overwrite. I'm overwriting
Okay,
only admin part.
okay. And another question is, so will these like records still stay in the employees table, or from
Correct,
employees
correct.
table, will they be removed?
No, they will not remove from this source table. I'm just
Oh,
using select star from. Okay.
okay.
So employees partition. Now you see that the statement has been executed. Partition par.
Raja, actually, when we executed that insert statement earlier for the dynamic, we didn't set that as a strict mode, right? We just left it in non-strict mode, right?
All
So,
right. Once non-strict mode. I'm not very sure. This one I feel like non-strict. Okay, let's see. Wait, a little confusion here. Some property needs to be set it. That's all. So we disturb the existing properties, right? So that's why it is not loading now. Still it is having something select condition partition department name loading data to table return. I use staging. Okay, I'll use MSCK repair. Something wrong. MSCK. Understand. When I drop the partition, I will also need to remove the file here. Okay, that's the problem. Because it remains as it is, so it is confusing. Because if you see this
Raja, it is
Raja,
not audible. Raja, are you there?
Guys, you hear me? Hello.
Yes, Raja, now we are able to hear you.
Yes. So now what I'm trying to do here is I am going to remove the partition location on the HDFS path. Sometimes we need to do this. It will not take automatically. Yeah. When you alter the table and then dropping it from the front, so you also need to take care of this. Okay. So this is RM command -rm remove hyphen -r I'm using. It will remove this particular partition from the physical location from the HDFS path. Okay, removed.
But Raja, you're doing a remove now, but anyway, you're writing an override, right? So it should remove anything.
That's what I feel like some yeah, that's what something like it's fishy, like unable to move something. So that's why I just for my safety purpose, I just removed it. It is a practice that you need to remove. Okay. It says return code 1. It is moving from this particular file to this location. Since the file is already available, maybe it is not able to overwrite it. Let's see. I will use the same command again. It says unable to move. This is actually our non-partition table. Unable to move to destination.
But the issue is it's showing the both source and destination as the same path.
Correct, right? So are we good here? Like employee part? No, but we are trying to do select of this particular non-partition table to partition table. Maybe it is overwrite is causing issue or load data of this table. Failed execution error. Now you see it's success. Now let me see. That's what, guys. So since that particular folder is already available on the HDFS path, it is not able to overwrite. I don't know some reason. If you see, this is what happens. Employee partition, moving data to this location. Okay. It couldn't load the data when we are having the location over here. Now, if you see, I deleted it and then listed it here, right? Now let me list it again. You see here, so maybe it depends upon the version to version, because we are using, I think, very basic version. So maybe when we drop the partition, we also require to clear the HDFS location. That's all. Even this is a wild case. I went to remove this. It's not practice or what we do in real time, but when you are altering the table and dropping when you are altering the table and dropping the partition, it is suggestible to remove the HDFS location file. Okay. So any doubts here? So we done with dynamic partition too, and static partition also we have seen. So any questions with respect to this partitioning?
I don't have any.
Kalpana, you
No, Raja.
good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Sashi.
Good, Raja. No.
Thank you. Right. So now we'll see. We done with the partition. Then we'll see cluster by. So what is meant by clustering in Hive? So clustering is something that, I mean, like bucketing. Sorry, bucketing is something that it is a subset of like partition. So you can also consider that if partition is at table level, bucketing is at a file level. So bucketing means you can save or you can store some range of values in buckets. Okay. Now we'll see how we can create a bucketing. So I'll use the same table, select the star from employees. Okay, I'll include a few more records here. Values, you have to specify values. Okay, so now what we will do, we will create the same table. Okay, yeah, so you can create bucketing and partition on same table. That is possible. You can also create independently, like without partition also you can create a bucket. Okay, without bucket also you can create partition. Just now we done it. So both are like independent. So sometimes if you think that performance needs to be improved more, you can create both, like a partition you can define, and you can define bucketing also. Sorry, I've get the one. I'll have to. I'll use this. Then the command is same only, na? Yeah. So partition by, I'll keep department number as it is. Now one more thing you need to specify, clustered by of, you can specify I will specify employee ID. You can specify the relevant key. You have to identify that which needs to be bucketed. So because bucketing is something that I can give you in plain terminology, like range of values you want to store. So when you create bucket, so you have some 20k employees. So if you create 4 buckets or 2 buckets, behind the screen, a hash functionality will work, hash algorithm. So it will split equivalently into those whatever you specify number of buckets. Number of buckets you can specify like this, and you can specify into, I'll specify 3 buckets. So what will happen, hash algorithm will split the data or throw randomly into these 3 buckets. Because I'm specifying 3, you can also specify up to 32 also. Number of buckets you can increase based upon your data size. So this is the syntax. I'm creating partition, and then on top of it again I'm creating clustered by of employee ID, and then I'm giving you int into 3 buckets. I'm asking to split it into 3 buckets. Okay, let me change this table name, cluster by.
So Raja, here the employee ID, so the clustered by will be done on the existing column.
Exactly.
Right? Okay.
Yep. So you are partitioning anyway. You understand partitioning. Now you are doing clustering on top of it. So clustering is something that you are bucketing. You are splitting the data again based on range of values. Okay. Yes, you understand, or you want me to repeat anything?
Understand.
Okay, thank you. So now what we will do, we will create this table first and then load the data. Let's see what will happen. Okay. Now I'll change this also, cluster by. And I will be using non-strict mode only. Okay. Sorry, dynamic partition. I will use dynamic partition. Let's see. I'm going to create the table. So I'm giving external table, cluster by, and then partition by this, and then cluster by of this particular one. So let's load this. Int clustered by. Okay, sorry. No need to specify. Remember guys, one thing, when you are creating a partition, no need to specify the column name, partition column name in the list, right? If you going to create bucketing, you can create any of this column which is available here. So employee ID. So it is not necessarily required to specify partition column in the list. Okay, this list, create list, but employee ID you can define from this list, like employee ID I'm declaring it here, so you can use the same thing. So here it is not required data type. Okay, because I've already used employee int. Okay, so now I will go and create the table. Okay, the table has been created now. Okay, now we will load that data, same data. Okay, we use one syntax, right? One insert into, yeah, insert overwrite into table. Now we will specify partition, then partition we will use cluster by. Okay, of admin partition. So it will now create buckets inside admin partition. That's all. Let's see. Before I load the data, let's go and verify the HDFS path. So inside cluster by there is no data, so it will be empty. So it's more than 1 hour, guys. So you able to grasp it, right?
Yes, Raja.
Yeah, we will continue for some other time because we lost sessions. So I don't want to waste time. I'll just cover this. Tell me if you are getting sleep, no problem. Okay. Insert overwrite table.
So,
Okay, I'm
we
using.
are doing dynamic right now.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Sorry guys, even when you are listening, it will not get, but when you go for hands-on, you will get it for sure. Okay. So now I'm loading the data from a non-partition table to a partition table along with cluster. Okay. Yeah. So now load this. So I split it into 3 buckets. The hash algorithm will work, so you no need to worry about how that works in the backend. So hash will split the data. So as soon as it receives from the source table, it will split the data into number of buckets we specify. So in real time, you will be playing with huge amount of data. Though I'm for hands-on purpose, demo purpose, I'm just using simple. When I use this only, you will understand. Okay, so now move the data and you see some statistics anywhere? No, I don't see any statistics. Okay, let's go and see. See here it is not required, because if you just use select star from employee underscore cluster by, if you use this, table is not correct. Cluster employees cluster. Okay, you see some data is available, somehow 4 rows are available, but you really not see whether it is bucketed or not. So now if you want to see how this has been bucketed, now you go here, use the ls command. You will first see the partition. Right, now you go department name equal to admin and then list it. Now again you go here and then see. So this is the notation, guys, don't confuse. In Hadoop, folders will be created like this: 0000 underscore 0. If you have a huge amount of data, it will split across like 00. Okay, it's not okay, I cannot. What is this? ls, no such file directory. Did I give
10 is
something?
missed.
Yeah. So in Hadoop, so these will be created like this: 6 zeros underscore 0, 5 zeros 1 underscore 0, something like that. It will create folders. Okay, yeah, file is available and you can see that. Okay, all right. Department name 00 ls it has given inside this. Let me use okay, it put everything into one bucket. That is the problem. Since our data size is huge, it put into one bucket only. Okay, that is a problem. So let's create this bucketing
Raja,
concept
so
on
one doubt. So partitioning is clear that it eases our querying and all. So what is the
correct.
use of bucketing?
So bucketing, again, say for example, that's what Charan, you have department wise partition data. Now you have 100k 200k records each department. Now if you take my organization TCS, so TCS is almost having some 4 lakh employees. Now I split the data and now I want to select a certain range, like some employee ID starts from certain range to certain range, and certain range like 50,000 to 1 lakh, or 1 lakh to 2 lakh, 2 lakh to 3 lakh. Some range I can specify. Now you can also even segregate the data. So select star from table where some department number, sorry, where department name, and you can also specify some range like employee ID between. So when you see this employee ID between this and this, it will also, since it is segregated bucket wise, it will not scan all the buckets. It will go to a specific bucket based on the range. So you are improving even more, right? The performance.
Yeah. So another doubt is like, so sometimes when I give a range between range, it might fall between two files. The data might be in divided might be two different files. It's okay if I have 6 files and I'm just querying 2 files. Hello.
Sorry, Charan, your voice broken in the middle. Can you repeat again?
Yeah. So the question is like, for example, I do have 4 files, and when I give the query as in between range, the data is actually falling into 2 different files. Even that is a good performance efficiency. But
yes.
like my question is, how do you determine the number of buckets? Like how do you like determine the number of buckets so that any kind of query will be optimal?
Exactly.
And
See, that. Yeah, that is what you have to specify. Say, for example, if how volume your range is, if you are dealing with huge amount of data, say it's not a specific number. You can go with, even that's what I told, 32 buckets also you can go. So bucketing is something that which will make arranging of the data based on the sort values. That's all.
okay, so is a higher number of buckets advisable, or lower number of buckets is advisable?
That is again. So if you have a high cardinality means unique values are more, then that is useless, right?
Yes.
So you should split in such a way, even for female and male, these two if these two values are available under gender column, so you cannot define bucketing. That is doesn't make sense.
Yes.
So I'll give you an example. Country wise, then again you can define state or region wise. If you take, again you can give country as a country also. You can region country you can specify as a partitioning. Bucketing is something that you can use some state, or even you can use some local any code, zip code wise, or any other cluster key. Okay. One thing we forgot to say for doing bucketing, maybe that is the reason it is not working. 1 second. Yeah. Somewhere where mouse is, yeah, here. So set, you have to specify set hive dot enforce dot bucketing equal to true. You have to set this property, guys. Let's see what is the value by default. So without having any assignment, you can just give this. You see here it's set to false. That's why we couldn't see that into multiple buckets, right? You can go and set it here true. Now I set it true. I will reload the data. Okay, I will reload the data, but this time I will give some other department, like IT I will give. Okay, now you see. Able to hear me?
Now, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just loading the data into different partition. Now we will see how the bucketing will work, because earlier all 4 records loaded into one partition and then one bucket, because we didn't enforce the bucketing. So I will also take this and then Now it's completed. Now we will verify. Anyway, if you query the table, it will come, but not investigating how the bucketing worked. Now you see, earlier it loaded into one bucket. Now I specified load the data into 3 buckets, right? So that's why I can see inside the IT, there are 3 buckets available. So I can now, if you query this, sorry, if you cat it 0 0 0 0 0 0 0. So total I have 4, but it will split randomly and one extra record it will adjust somewhere. I think in the first bucket itself, if you see the size, in the first bucket itself, it is listed. You see, in the first bucket, it is loaded only 2 records. And in the second, maybe 1 record. Okay. And in the 2, 1 more record. Okay. So that's how it works, bucketing concept. So guys, any doubt? So the same way, you are just splitting up the directory. So if you say partition is a kind of a folder, bucketing is something that which is like a file. Tell me guys, if you are having any doubts.
How we query with the bucketing, Raja?
No. See, we are not going. Yeah, we are not going to specify anything. You'll just use same syntax. Select star from cluster by only. But if you see here, now I loaded 2, right? Like where class only you will use. Where department name equal to IT, and you can say employee ID, EMP ID in some go 111. Employees cluster where employee ID, it says IT. Now you see very fast because it's going to that partition level and then it is going to the bucketing level also. Clear?
Yes, Raja.
Are you clear?
Yes.
No problem. You can ask me. Like I think you are hesitating little.
I mean, even in the select query, without doing bucketing also, that is how we will write, right? If we want to get a list of
Exactly.
records
That's right.
which falls in the particular employee ID between 100 or 200, this is how
Yes.
we will give it. So how it makes a difference?
The difference is, yeah, the difference is now you are not able to see the performance. Say for example, you are dealing with terabytes of data. So when you are dealing with terabytes of data, that's what I think. Let me make you clear. You are using partition. So the partition itself, minimizing to have a full table scan. So you don't need to require to go to the entire table, and then if you specify partition, that partition will go. Now bucketing is when you required, say for example, again you wanted to segregate that data into buckets. So based on some range of values, okay. Now what will happen? I'll give you this one scenario. I'll take the India as an example country, and then bucketing if you use on states. Now when you are querying the data, you will use select star from some sales data, and then where country equal to India you can give. So now India partition, entire partition will get scanned, Kalpana. So now when you use bucketing again, and if you are using and where state equal to some Punjab or some state, if you give, what will happen? It will not scan entire partition of India. It will again scan only state of Punjab, because we have some 29 states. So we are skipping the data again, right?
Okay. Okay.
So
Okay.
query style is same. And where class also will work without bucketing. See, I'm not saying that create bucketing compulsory. No
Okay.
need. You don't require to create. But if you expect some performance improvement, then you create it. You will see the performance, because you are just trying to skip the scan. That's all.
Okay.
If you're not satisfied, you can tell me, Kalpana.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah. 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 I'm fine.
Okay, so this is what, guys, clustering and partitioning. So hope you clear with this. This is most important topics that we have. The next one is map joins. So map side joins is something that when you are joining two tables, what will happen in regular RDBMS or else in Hive. So they will just join based on the key, and then if they want to do some reducer activities also, they will do at reducer level. So we know that mappers and reducers will work behind Hive query, any Hive query. So map side join is something that when your table, you're joining two tables, when you require to join two tables, if you are not able to get the data from one table, give me 1 second. So say for example, if you are not able to get the data from one table and you need to join with some other table, so you will use join concepts. So when you are using join concepts, again here mappers and reducers will take some time. Say for example, if you are any of one table where you are going to join, which table you are going to join. So if you give this map side joins, what will happen? These will be happen. I mean, if the table size is less than 25 MB, so the data will be loaded into a memory, and then join operations will be performed at the mapper level. So in that case, it will skip the reducer part. So it is, you see, every time we can see here, mapper, reducer, map needs to complete, then followed by reduce. So when mappers completes 100%, then only reduce will start. Okay, but when you use this map side joins, what will happen? You will not require to calculate this reduce operation. You will skip that, and this is particularly when you are any one of the tables is having the data less than 25 MB. Any doubts with this map side joins? I'll demonstrate for sure. I'll demonstrate, but just making
Maybe,
sure that introduction to
maybe
this map
after
side joins.
seeing maybe after seeing some hands-on, maybe we might have some conceptual.
Exactly, correct. So now,
Conceptual.
yeah, to do that, yeah, now it's 9:30. Okay, so what I can do, so I'll leave it here. This evening I will again connect, guys, like this evening my time and your time morning, so just for 1 hour. So suggest me some good time. We will have 1 hour because we have to recover all the sessions that we lost. Okay, we will continue with map set joins, and then I think that will be a last session for Hive itself, and we will start Pig. And I will give you the assignment right away. I'll send you assignments to you. You have to do it and then send me the queries, so that I'll understand that you're you have to practice it, guys. Don't ignore. I'll just forward this. Kalpana, can you give me your email ID?
MA Kalpana. It's not N, M. M for Mumbai. Yeah. MA Kalpana. KLPANA. KALPANA. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And I'm sending you the attachment. I think yes, new. Oh, this is new file. But let's discard. I'm sending the data set here. The problem statement I'll send over WhatsApp. Okay.
Okay, Raja.
Okay, guys, we'll leave it for now. We will meet in the evening, my time, morning, your time. Okay. Bye.
Yeah. Can you send this recording
yes.
session, Raja?
Yeah, definitely. I'll send it. I'll get the link from Sunil. I'll send it.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Bye,
Last
Raj.
we had a good one, right? Like partitioning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, fine then. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Raja.
Thank you.